Hi there. I'm here today with Patty Marler of HSLDA. Patty, thanks for joining me today. You're going to be chatting with us about planning for a high quality home education. I really appreciate the role that you play in the homeschooling community. You are the government and media relations officer or staff member for HSLDA Canada. HSLDA is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, doing all kinds of great things here in Canada and around the world for home education. Patty, you're the former president of the Alberta Home Education Association. You're a social worker, a career counselor, an author. You've done all of this stuff. And to boot, you have also recently received the King Charles III Coronation Medal. Congratulations on that. All of this as a part of your work in the homeschooling community in Canada, working with homeschoolers, advocating for homeschoolers, seeing families excel in their homeschooling, and you're a homeschooling mom that graduated 4 kids from homeschool, K to 12. So congratulations on all of that, Patty. Thank you for bringing your expertise to us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Corey. I'm really happy to be here and really happy to be here with the Learning House. You do such important work too. You know, I'm so thankful for what you do and so glad we can work together and partner in things like this.
Yeah, I love it that we have just very much the same heart with different roles, you know, we're different parts of that body, trying to help and care for families who are just doing the best that they can to raise up their children in the way that they should go. So thanks for joining me. I really look forward to hearing this. You've got a presentation for us. I'm going to pull that up and I'm going to take some notes while you share with us.
Okay, well, thanks so much. You introduced this so well. I just want to, talk just a second about planning and the planning that I did with our homeschooling. You know, those planning days were really something that I absolutely looked forward to. I would have my husband take all our kids away. He said, "Why don't you go away and do this?" And I was like, "No, I need to be at home. I need to spread all my books, everything we have out in the living room." And I would spend a whole day picking and choosing and deciding. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful time to do that. And when I was done at the end of that process, whether it be a day or a couple of days, I just felt so at ease, so at peace, and so ready to tackle what we had to tackle. So I'm really excited to talk to you a bit more about planning your homeschool. Planning for a high quality education. You know, a high quality education is focused on the holistic personal development of your child, not just the academic success. We want to see our whole child developed in the education that we do. And that's what homeschooling is all about. It's not just about the academic success of our child or children. A high quality education will provide an education that is focused on the individual. So one of the beauties of homeschooling is that we can pick and choose what we're going to do with each child within our family unit. It empowers our kids to meet high standards and allows us to tailor the things we do to our child's unique characteristics, their interests, and the way that they learn. And that's such a blessing. A high quality education is going to develop valuable skills within our kids. And sometimes not sometimes, but often, these skills are things that you can't really grade, but they're evident by the final product of our child's work, their diligence in work, their attention to detail, their focus, the depth in which they tackle assignments and projects. Those are skills that you can't really define. Well, you can define them, but you don't grade typically students on them. But they're very important skills to develop in achieving that high quality education. And finally, having our children understand the value and the importance of a task really is just as important, if not more important, than the task itself, the outcome of it. That is what true education is when we understand the why of what we do and not just the how. So this little summary of what a high quality education is comes from an article that Sarah Gray wrote in the Career and Colleges Guide. Just going to back that up a little bit for you. The article is a high quality home education process over product. And you can read it in the College and Career Guide for Homeschoolers, which I'll link you to a little bit later via a QR code. So get your cameras ready for those QR codes because I'm going to have a couple of them available today. Planning for success. We can be successful. It has been proven. This is one piece of research that from the Maritimes that talks about the structured homeschooling getting an A+. And in this piece of research, it says although public school children we assessed were performing at or above expected levels for their ages, children who received structured homeschooling had superior results when compared to their peers. So home education, the research shows that home education is an incredibly successful way to educate our kids. And so let's plan for that. Planning serves many purposes. So there's many reasons why we want to. It helps to unify everything that we do around a single vision, around a single purpose. Now, I know that Corey has spoken already about defining your vision and writing it down. And that is really key because we want everything that we do to fulfill that vision and that purpose. And I think I may have locked up, but I'm just going to keep going because you don't really need to see me. Oh, yes, we do, because... Okay, well, we had a bit of a technical glitch, but we are back. So planning, really what's the point of planning when you can just sort of wing it all the time if you want? Well, planning actually serves many important purposes. It really helps to unify your homeschooling around a single vision and purpose. Now, I know that Corey talked in one of her previous talks about developing the vision for your homeschooling and writing it down. And this should be what really informs all that you do in your homeschooling is the desire to achieve and attain that high vision. You're going to create goals that you will design with the end in mind. So you're going to begin with the end in mind. And the end again is that vision. Planning also builds a sense of optimism for the year ahead, like I talked to you about. And it can also rejuvenate optimism throughout the year. So in times when you're struggling, when it's really cold or rainy out and you're like, I just don't know, these months are getting to me. Going back to your plan can really build that sense of optimism again. And when you design this planning framework and structure for the year that is tailored for your child's needs, for your child's interests and their abilities, you are certain to build that child's education in a way that no other education can. And finally, a continued reference point to keep you on track. So when you're wondering, I'm not even sure where I am right now, you go back to your plan. When you're like, I don't even know what to do today, you go back to your plan. When you're feeling like you haven't accomplished anything this year, you go back to your plan and look at what you've done. The plan can do so much for you and your kids. So one of the first things, I'm kind of following a bit of a format that we laid out in this homeschool planner. This homeschool planner was created by HSLDA. There's over 50 years of homeschool experience in this, plus input from our lawyers to make sure that everything you do is going to provide you that ultimate in a strong education. So you can download this. Again, get your camera ready because I'll bring that QR code up in a bit. You can download the planning pages of this. There's also tracking and evaluation in this, but you can download the planning pages today during this session. So consider the legislation. Now, every province is going and territory has its own home education regulation. Now, there may be requirements in the legislation for your province or territory, requirements for notification or registration, requirements for an education plan, for specific types of evaluation or progress reporting. There may be teacher supervision in your province or curriculum requirements and even funding that's available. So you will want to make sure that you understand the legislation and requirements of you as a home educator. Now, there's detailed legal descriptions and recommendations for each province that's available on the HSLDA member site. There's also a summary of the provincial laws that's available using this QR code. And this QR code will get you to all of the resources that I've described so far, because we have made those available to you even as non-members. We've made a couple of these resources available. So every child is unique and will take a different approach to planning and conducting your homeschool. So you, as a homeschool parent, will have a unique homeschool method that you want to use. Now, if you're unfamiliar with some of those homeschool methods, I encourage you to go to homeschool.today, just right there as it's typed out, homeschool.today, and take a look at the My Learning Style quiz. And there you can take this quick little quiz, and you can take it a number of times if you want. And after you're done, it's going to suggest one or two learning styles, education styles that may work for you and your family. Classical approach, a literature-based, project-based, Charlotte Mason, child-led learning. All of these are possible ways of teaching your child, but all of them do require planning for your homeschool. Now, sometimes people will say, well, I unschool, so I don't need a plan. Well, that child-led learning approach really needs as much planning as any other approach to home education, because you are going to want to know what your ultimate goals are for the year, and you're going to want to make sure that your child meets them. You're just meeting them in a slightly different, using a slightly different method, a slightly different approach, a way of home educating. Each family is going to have a unique learning environment. So your plan will be different if you only have one child or multiple children, or if you have exceptional needs students or medical needs or family needs. There's a whole range of uniqueness to your family that will affect how you plan for your homeschooling. And again, whether you are just getting started homeschooling, or if you're homeschooling through high school, the planning will serve different purposes. It will serve different needs. Homeschooling through high school is going to have very different needs for your planning, for your evaluating and tracking than you had when your child was just getting started, but they're all just as important. So strategizing and planning for your unique child, your unique family situation, it'll help you develop a homeschool that's well suited to all your needs. Now, setting personal goals is one of the planning steps. So you're going to want to set individual goals for your student, for each student that you have. You want to put those divine goals first because those are ultimately the most important. Act justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your God, love your neighbor as yourself. These are goals that you're going to want to be at the center of your home education. The character development of your child is going to be important, and developing some of those things. Maybe your child has shortcoming in attentiveness or shortcomings in diligence, and you can write these personal goals down as things you want to attain in your homeschooling. Relation and social goals, physical goals, their interests in the things that they want to do. And then understanding what's true and good and beautiful. I've got another QR code here that links you to an article about understanding what's true, what's good, what's beautiful, because these things help to form our children, which really is the point of education. Now, setting academic goals, you are going to want to define your child's strengths and their challenges in order to set challenging yet realistic goals for them. We want to build our child's weaknesses, but we want them to excel in the things that they have strengths in. So develop goals that really allow them to flourish in those strengths, yet gently build those challenging areas for them. You're going to want to set goals that help them to understand the world around them, because we want them to be informed citizens within the world. We want to give room for the higher calling for your children. We know that God's thoughts are not our thoughts and his ways are not ours. So we want to give room for that calling that we may not have planned completely for, but God knows those things need to be done. And we want to discuss these goals with our children, with our spouse, with other people who have experience in homeschooling, because God tells us that when we lean on the counsel of others, that's a wise thing to do. So let's look at, so those, often when we think about education, those aren't things that we think about, but really in home education, those are the core things that we want to develop. We also need to share some of those academic core subjects. Now, every province is going to require some core subject studies. How you approach these subjects is going to be up to you, but they should be included in your education plan, which again, you can download this and use this homeschool planner to help you develop that education plan. The core subjects that you are definitely going to want to include are English or French, depending on your first language or the language you want to be your primary language of teaching, math, science, history, current events, and social studies. And then possibly some provinces will require a second language. So this is going to be the foundation, the core of those subjects that you will teach to your kids, that you will evaluate them on, that you will want to see them progress in. Now, when you are doing this core subject, I went the wrong way there. So you will want to set broad subject goals for each, or broad goals for each of these subjects. It keeps going through. Sorry about this. You'll want to make resource choices for each of these subjects. And you're going to want to define the skills that you desire for your child, the experiences that you want them to have, and the activities that you want to do for each of these subject areas. And you will also want to determine the assessment method you will use to monitor and gauge progress. And all of this, the planner can help you with all of this. Now, there are additional subjects as well for you to consider adding into that program plan to make your education real robust and real rich. Depending on your child's age and their development and their interests, you may want to include art, music, physical education, worldview studies, money management, civics, and religion and biblical studies. Now, I'm just going to slow down a tiny bit. Worldview studies, especially in this time, are really important. Understanding the ways that people think based on their worldviews can bring such a great understanding to the world. So we want to understand how their beliefs, how their faith impacts their ethics, impacts their family life, impacts their politics, impacts their ideas. And that can help to give us a much better understanding of what's going on in our world today and what's going on with the individuals that we meet. Money management, we want to talk about giving, saving, spending, investing, debt, employment. These are areas that we're going to want to share with our kids. Civics. You will want to add in civics, and we have a whole list of excellent civics opportunities for home educated students. And then your biblical studies or religious studies is going to be extremely important in studying, like I said, the secularism, New Ageism, Christianity, Muslim, communism, how all of these different worldviews and religions impact the things that are going on in the world. Okay, and then computers. I'm just going to back up a tiny bit just to the worldview studies. When we study worldviews, we begin to understand the world around us better. So this is a really important higher end sort of studies. So when we explore the different faiths of people, whether it be secularism or Christianity or New Age, Muslim, communism, the way people see the world, studying that allows us to understand how their views impact the things that they do, and then allows us to better understand the things that are going on in our world. So there are many excellent worldview studies that are available. Money management, this is an area where my kids said, Mom, I'm so glad that you guys spent a lot of time talking to us about money, teaching us how to save, give, spend, how to invest, the challenges with debt, what to do with our employment money. These are key areas that we can focus in on in home education that, in ways that isn't approached in other forms of education. Civics. At HSLDA, we have a whole list of civics, good citizenship opportunities for home educated students. Studying, biblical studies, religion is so important to developing wisdom. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways than yours, and my thoughts than yours. So developing wisdom, not just knowledge, is so important. And computers and technology, understanding those things are really important in our world. Okay, so once we have all of those subject areas, we're also going to want to choose relevant activities for these areas. You'll want to choose activities that are in line with your child's personality and your goals for them. Whether they be activities that are outdoors or service-oriented, volunteering, different clubs that they participate, or social activities. These are all relevant and important components of a home education to build that interaction of our children with the world, with other people, to be able to share. These are important, relevant activities to include in your planning. And again, there are sections for that in this homeschool planning guide. Education resource selection is another key a key part of planning your homeschool. What resources, what educational materials are you going to use? Well, you're going to want to use resources that motivate your child. You're going to want to use programming that suits your child's learning style, their exceptional needs, and your method of approaching education. So remember how I said, do that homeschool.today My Learning Style quiz? Once you have an understanding of the way you want to approach home education or the way you want to approach it this year, I mean, there were many times that I changed sort of the approaches that we had throughout our homeschool career, then you can pick resources that will work with that education style. So if you do child-led learning, you're going to pick resources different. You're going to have an abundance of library books available, perhaps through HSLDA's digital library or things that you buy, as compared to if you're using a classical approach where you have very formal methodologies and workbooks that you want to use. So your approach to homeschooling is really going to inform the educational resources that you use. Some options are, complete curriculum, classical conversations, Abeka, Sunlight, individual books, online courses. We can also do some of the courses online. Tree of Life offers courses. Wisdom Homeschooling, it's an organization in Alberta, but it offers their online Socratic learning courses to kids from other provinces as well. So you can take advantage of those. You can take university or college open studies courses and then get university credits while your child is studying at home as well. You may want to take advantage of group learning opportunities, co-ops, group studies. We did this, especially with our older kids when we were tackling some really tough subject areas, human anatomy or, a worldview understanding the Times program. We would get a bunch of kids together so that we could study it together. It made it a bit more, it added a social component to the education that we're doing. It really helped me to stay on track with curriculum that was so in-depth and so required a focus and a commitment to conscientious learning. That may be something that you want to add in, a little bit of to your learning as well. You may want to use online learning resources. There's so many good podcasts, PragerU, Peterson Academy. There's so many options that are available, and discussion. Never underestimate the value of discussion as being an education resource. You chatting with your children, whether they're 6 or whether they're 16, is going to be really key in helping them learn. I encourage you to consult with the Learning Health staff about the resources that may suit your family. I can give you the theoretical knowledge, but Learning House has that direct expertise to help you choose those learning resources that are going to be good for your family. And then another part of planning is the scheduling. And again, this is so unique to every to every family how you schedule. Some families schedule very strict, down to having everything laid out for each day, whereas others will have a very loose schedule where maybe they have some broad ideas of what they want to do for the week or broad goals that they're hoping to meet for the week. So you want to choose the structure that works for you and your family when scheduling. You may schedule by subject. You can schedule by hourly, daily, or weekly methods. You can schedule with goal deadlines, or you can schedule according to the curriculum outline or the outline that the curriculum provides. So that makes scheduling straightforward if you use that. You want to use any way that is going to suit your family. So again, here's that QR code to the HSLDA Homeschool Planner and Guide, which is going to help provide those step-by-step planning information. It offers suggestions for different, the planning guide available to members is going to offer a whole bunch of suggestions on different ways to use the planner, different ways you can approach goal setting or subject planning. But please feel free to take a picture of that QR code and download that QR planner. There's also additional tracking and evaluation sections for HSLDA members. This is a picture of a couple of the sample pages, just so you have this is a real brief idea of what the planner looks like. So I encourage you to pray, to seek wisdom, and lean on God. Proverbs 29 says, "Many are the plans in the mind of man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand." And Proverbs 16 says, "Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established." And Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious." Now, homeschool mom, hear me, hear God. "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." Let him fill in all those gaps, because you will have gaps in your homeschooling. I can guarantee it. Everyone has gaps in their homeschooling. Ask God to help you fill those in. So just a couple brief seconds. You may wonder about HSLDA. I work for HSLDA. What do we do? Well, we provide homeschool legal protection, professional support, and advocacy. Our legal protection, we have preventative legal protection, we have emergency legal protection, and we have non-emergent protective services that our lawyers can help you if your homeschool is challenged or if there are unsolicited visits. So the hallmark of what HSLDA does is our homeschool legal protection. We provide protection for you through our lawyers for any time your homeschooling is challenged or there's questions about your homeschool. And we do see it regularly. Our lawyers are busy every day answering calls. So emergent legal protection, you can call 24/7. We also provide a lot of preventative legal protection, a lot of information in order to help protect your homeschool so that should challenges ever arise, we've helped you to build a strong homeschool. Our lawyers believe that a big part of protecting your homeschooling is providing that professional homeschool support. Things like this and many of the other things that we do at HSLDA help support your homeschool and build it. Our exceptional needs consultant, access to liability insurance, our digital library with over 2,500 homeschooling books and more. And then the advocacy we do. We're a part of making homeschool legal in every province and territory in Canada, and we work to protect homeschool freedoms and provide comprehensive advocacy. So that is my presentation, what we do, the planning, hoping that you that you will find value in this planning, and that planning will excite you as well in your homeschooling, because it really, really is an incredibly valuable tool. And like Corey knows, it's really important for our homeschools and families. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Patty. I really appreciate this. The balance and the way that you've talked about, finding right resources, choosing good books and a curriculum or the right course of study in terms of like those hard resources, as well as balancing out the like including outside learning and whether that's co-ops or getting involved in community events and stuff. And one of the key things that we've always seen as valuable is those other key leaders, other key people in our lives that influence our children, that we can strategically choose who is going to help me along as we do this, those mentors, right? And you touched on this, that, discussing our goals with our children and with others and including others in that learning plan and stuff. It reminded me of the verse in Hebrews. I know it, and then I have to bring it up when I start to try and recite it. But in Hebrews 13, verse 7, it says, "Remember your leaders, those who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith." And it always reminds me that in addition to, like the verse before that says, "The Lord is my helper, I will not fear." In addition to going to the Lord for guidance and help in all situations, there are people out there who are our helpers, our mentors, our guides that have gone before. And we can say, look at the outcome of this person's life. I want to learn from them, whether it's a spiritual, in our spiritual journey or in other ways. Like we can include other mentors and leaders and helpers as we become the learners that God has created us to be.
And Corey, that is really, really important. One thing that I have found since COVID is that so many people began homeschooling during COVID and didn't know about the different support groups, the different people who met together, that there were people who've gone before and can help walk you through processes and help you. And some of them really still aren't connected, and the value of being connected to those people. I encourage people to go to homeschool conferences, to take advantage of this, these important workshops that you're doing. These are all really important things for us to do as homeschoolers. This is our way to develop professionally as home educators.
Yeah. And then that just brings me back to what we're doing here as the Builders Club, that as moms and dads, we have made an incredible commitment to our children's education. I had a friend years ago who said to me, I found her at one conference and then at another. I'm standing at my little booth and I said, "Wow, you had to come to that conference a while ago and here you are here." And she said, "Well, when I was a teacher, I would get these regular professional development days where I had to take courses and learn and expand myself as a teacher. And now I feel like I have a much more important job in raising and educating my own children." So she said, "I'm going to take every opportunity I can to develop myself professionally as a mom, as a teacher, as in this role as a homeschooling parent." So I really appreciate that. And that's really one of the key underlying parts of this foundation for why we have started this Builders Club, to just help parents who have invested so much to really redeem that investment in a greater way by giving them tools that will help them to thrive. So
that's great. Thanks for what you do, Corey.
Yeah, well, I love it, right? And I think that we both love what we do, and I hope that shows. I appreciate you coming and sharing it. I think we could chat over so many things. Like I've got so many notes here. Some of the things that just jumped out, and one in particular was just this value of discussion. I know that our family has focused on a Charlotte Mason style of learning, and we would call that narration. What did you learn? Tell me back what you learned. But I've also, separate from Charlotte Mason philosophy, I've often told people the most valuable part of my children's education has probably been those dinner table discussions. How did the day go? What did you learn? What did you read? What are you struggling with socially? What did your friend say that you're struggling with? And how do I respond to that? What did I read in the scripture today? What did I see in the news? And talking through those things, those discussions are so building and so helpful in digesting what we're learning.
And yeah, and not just education, right? I mean, the education component is so important, but the building of your relationship, which really is going to be a key component that lasts long past when your child graduates from their high school home education, for them to come back and keep chatting with you.
For sure. Thanks for taking the time today, Patty. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Corey.
Right.
Bye-bye.